You're listening to the Nobody Asked Podcast. It's Thursday, bitches. Let's get into it. Hey, bitches. Welcome back to the Nobody Asked Podcast. I'm your host, Sam, and it's definitely been a minute, and you probably want to punch me in the face, and if you do, I completely understand that, but please don't, because I swear this time, actually, I'm not going to promise anything, because every time I do, it doesn't go well. Yeah. Also, if you hear like a little bit of like denim rubbing, that was not the best way to start that. But if you experience that, it is because I'm sitting on the denim chair in my room. So I've never filmed like the way that I'm sitting with like the mic where it is. So I'm trying to not move, but you know how I am. I'm always like all over the place when I podcast. So yeah, so if you hear sounds, I'm sorry, that's why. Anyways, I missed a few episodes, mostly because I was still kind of losing my mind, but then also I just feel like I feel like I can't get on here and record an episode when I'm like not doing well. And I really have been trying, but like that's why I've barely had any episodes this year. But I did want to do an update anyways. I think in the last video, when I talked a lot about like what I've been feeling, I feel like in that video I mentioned going on antidepressants, but in case I didn't, I started antidepressants like 3.5 weeks ago. So I'm already kind of starting to like feel some of the effects of it. And I will say it's definitely been helping. And I think it's definitely been kind of stabilizing my mood, which has been fantastic. And then obviously, if you're a frequent listener, you already know I have PCOS. But so I just started with a new like specialist, and I'm doing all these like supplements and things. So I'm starting that this week, so I'll have to let you know. I think I'm going to do a dedicated like hormone imbalance PCOS video in maybe a month or two, but I want to see how like the vitamins and all this stuff that I'm trying, how that works. But I think I am going to do like a vlog maybe, and probably put it on my other YouTube channel, and then if not that one, it'll be on this podcast channel. But yeah, I just wanted to give an update because if I'm being honest, I think the last like 3 months is probably like the lowest I've felt in a few years, like maybe the pandemic or even before that. So it's nice to start feeling like myself. And it's been really nice to enjoy things again and kind of like feel like I have all the emotions coming back. I know I talked about this a lot in the last episode, but I was talking about how it's hard because you wouldn't wish depression on anybody, but also it is what makes me who I am. And like I wouldn't be the same person without that experience, which is I think something that's really hard about it, because obviously it's not something you want to experience. But like at the end of the day, I would still be a different person if I didn't experience it. So I think kind of coming out of like a bad couple months, it gives me a new like perspective and a new appreciation for things. And I don't know, I feel like I like want every day to be like a good day where I like just feel like alive. Like, you know, like the days where you just feel like electric. Like I feel like I want every day to be like that. But then when you have a lot of those days, you kind of get to the point where like you're annoyed when a day isn't like that, instead of grateful that you had that many days that were like that. So I think when like the lights are off, it just kind of makes me realize that like any day that's even a medium, like a neutral day, is something to be grateful for, because the neutral day could have been a day I cried the entire day. It could have been a day I had a panic attack. So in the grand scheme of things, I just feel like I always feel like it makes me appreciate my life and like everyday tasks more, if that makes sense. So I feel like the thing I've been working on and plan to keep working on moving forward would definitely be like learning how to appreciate the chaos and like find a balance in it. And I feel like that's kind of like what's been happening the last few weeks. I don't know, I just like I'm kind of getting to the point now where like I like laugh at things when they happen instead of like getting really upset over something stupid, which still happens like occasionally, but I feel like instead of always being so upset by it, now I'm just kind of like, yep, that would happen to me. I don't know, maybe it's TikTok or maybe it's just like the perspective switch, but like that whole thing that's on TikTok that's like do it for the plot. I feel like that's kind of like how my brain is starting to function like by accident. Like I feel like now when crazy things happen, I'm just kind of like that's going to be a really funny story to retell later. Like that's all. And I'm like there's just nothing else to even say. I don't know, but like I said, it could just be like that I'm just like having more appreciation for like feeling all the feels, because I was feeling nothing for a while. But I also think it could just be like age also, because I feel like so many people that I know like have told me they felt a difference in like a transition in themselves between 24 and 25, and I'm like halfway to 25, a little more than halfway. But I can just feel this like huge perspective switch like kind of happening, and then now that I'm starting to feel better, I don't know, I'm just starting to like feel like a new person. And I don't know, maybe somebody can relate to this and maybe they can't, but I feel like every time I've had like a stretch of like a depression episode, I feel like when I'm starting to come out of it, like the only thing I can think of is like the caterpillar like shedding its skin and then becoming a butterfly. And I feel like every single time I come out of it a better person. And like again, I would never choose this and I would never wish it on anybody, even though I know there are so many people that struggle with it. But like at the same time, I feel like it's important to start accepting who I am and like what's going on with me. And it's kind of at the point where you have to just accept it and figure out like how to live with it and how to make positives out of it. And I do think a positive out of it for me, at least, is I feel like I grow so much as a person every time. And like I said, like you just get a whole new appreciation for like being able to feel everything. Like whenever I'm like doing well and have like a burst of emotions, I feel like I'm kind of annoyed with myself and I'm like, just get over it, quit crying about it. Or like if I'm angry, like whatever the feeling is, if it's like an extreme feeling, I'm just like annoyed with myself. But then when I feel nothing for so long, any feeling is worth it. Like I would rather feel every bad feeling, good feeling in between all of them to be able to feel anything. And I don't know, I don't think there's some kind of like aha moment when you realize like things are getting better. I really don't know if I can pinpoint when I like noticed that the medication might be working. But I will say for me anytime I don't know how to explain it. It's just like I feel like I almost needed to have like a moment that like switched my perspective and kind of like helped me ground myself again and like find my way back, if that makes sense. And I know that's probably like too vague. I don't know. I think I'm starting to come to the realization that the 20s is the worst, but also the best years. And I know that's what everybody keeps saying, and I keep saying I don't get it. But I feel like I'm starting to get it because I think the lows of your 20s make the highs of your 20s feel so much bigger. So I feel like, yes, it's less stable, but that's what makes it fun. And I don't know, like some aspects of it I don't get. And maybe it's just because I don't go out that much and I'm like not that like, I'm like a homebody. But I feel like so many aspects of like why these are the best years of our lives I don't get. But then when I think about I'm never going to be 24 living in my parents' attic with not a ton of responsibilities, like that's never going to happen to me again. I'm going to live with Tony for the rest of my life. So at first I used to be like, I want to live together now. Everyone else lives together. I want to live together. And now I'm just kind of at the point where I'm like, we're going to live together for the rest of our lives. I'm never going to be 24 with very little responsibility, just able to put all of my time and effort into whatever I want and work on myself and just like set myself up the best I can for the rest of my life. And it's just weird because I know I talked about it in the last, or in 2 episodes ago, we talked about like adult relationships and just like, I don't know, like things just feeling more adult all of a sudden. But like things started to feel adult when we graduated. But for me, the perspective on it was different. It was almost like losing something because I was losing who I was in college. I was losing being so close to all of my friends. I was losing being with Tony like every day. You're losing your freedom, like all of that stuff. So when you think about it, like it makes sense why it felt like a different perspective, where for some reason, like going from like early 20s to like mid 20s now feels the opposite. Like the perspective feels like I'm gaining so much more than I'm losing now. Like I'm kind of over the fact that like I'm over the like transition of finding the new adult me, and I'm over the transition finally of like letting go who I was in college. And so now I feel like I'm able to like realize how much I'm gaining in life and see it from a different perspective. And I feel like I'm almost able to kind of have like a nostalgic feeling towards everything now. And I feel like that's happening because I feel like when you're little, I mean, not everybody, but like for me, when I was a little girl, I dreamed of what kind of like 20 something year old, like what kind of adult I thought I'd be, for example, at 25. And like in some ways I was so wrong. Like I think most people when they're little think like they're going to be married with kids by like 23, and some people are, but like I realized as I got older that was actually the opposite of my goal. I want to have kids later in life opposed to earlier in life, but I think when I was little I thought that. But I think that's normal. So in some aspects, yes, I'd like to be further because I think you're always going to be further than you are. But in like the aspect of the person that I am and like the life, the core values of my life, I actually think I'm exactly what I wanted to be, if not even more than I thought I would be able to be. And it was just weird because I think the moment that I like had that realization was me and Tony went to the John Mayer concert last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And John Mayer is someone I have been obsessed with like my entire life. And so going to like his concert for me has always been like a huge bucket list thing, and it never works out. Like last year I was out of town for a bachelorette party the same weekend. But so there's always been a reason that I couldn't ever go to one. And then Tony got me tickets for Valentine's Day. So we went 2 weekends ago. And that was like a bucket list kind of like moment for me. I knew that I was going to cry the whole time. I knew it was going to be like one of those like core memory, like life changing, you're going to tell your kids about it kind of experiences. But I just like had a weird like moment, because normally I'd be drunk at concerts and like I wasn't. I like wanted to experience it. I didn't want to be blackout drunk, and like I don't know, it also maybe it was just because country concerts I feel like are a lot more about the environment, like that you're surrounding people, the party atmosphere, but I feel like his concert was more for the music, if that makes sense. So it was just so weird. It was very different than any other concert I've ever been to, but like in the best way. Like I felt the most in my element at that concert compared to when I go to other ones. But I was sitting there just like, crying, like having a moment thinking while I was listening. And I just like, I don't know why. I think it's because I like happened to also be coming out of the depression. Like my meds were finally starting to work, and we were doing this like life-changing concert thing. And I was just like already thinking and reflecting a lot that week. But we were sitting there at the concert, and he played Slow Dancing in a Burning Room, which is like one of my favorite songs, that and Gravity. And I don't know, I just like had a weird moment when I was sitting there, because I was like, this is just like, I was thinking in my head, this is so cool to experience in real life versus just hearing it on my Alexa. And I think it was just such a surreal moment for me, because I was thinking how much sad music got me through like my angsty teen years, and like a lot of heartbreak and a lot of like friendship breakups and school changes. Like I don't know, like that genre of music, and even his music in general, was like literally in my brain like the emotional soundtrack to like my youth. So I just had a moment at the concert listening to that song where I was just like, it's crazy that music got me through all of that. And now I'm almost 25 at the concert that 13-year-old me would have killed to be at, making a living in a creative field just like I had pictured. And I'm having one of the best nights of my life with the love of my life. And all I could think about was that 13-year-old me wouldn't even believe it, even if I could go back and tell her. No way. And I just think after feeling so little for so long, I'm just happy to be back to feeling every moment, even if it can be a little overwhelming. I think after feeling so little for so long, I'm just happy to be back to feeling everything. I have the career I want. I'm in the relationship that I could only have dreamed of. And yeah, paying taxes sucks. And working has been getting very old very quickly. But I think I'm at the point where I would rather feel it all. Every good thing, every bad thing, all of it. Because I'm realizing that feeling it all is better than feeling nothing. And I don't know, I just wish I could go back and tell even like 20-year-old me that like by 25 I was going to get to this point where I understood the last few years of crying all the time, and the stress of college and the stress of graduating, and just like all the life changes. I just kind of wish I could like, I mean, you can't, and that's fine. But I'm just like, if I could have just like whispered, you're gonna like who you become 5 years ago, I think it would have saved me a lot of tears. I don't know, maybe it has nothing to actually do with being in your 20s, and it's just that life gets harder until you figure out who you are and how to keep yourself grounded. And I feel like grounded is a feeling I have always wanted to have. Like that's like something I've craved, but I don't think I ever truly knew myself or like appreciated my personality or liked my personality enough to feel grounded. Because I think at the end of the day, you only have yourself to hold on to. So if you don't truly know yourself and you're not being authentic, you have nothing to hold on to. So how could you feel grounded? I don't know. That kind of broke my brain. I know this probably isn't the longest episode, but that took me like 3 hours to film because I was having so many issues. So, it's 10:43 on a Tuesday, and if I don't go to bed, I'm gonna lose my mind. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please do not forget to rate the podcast. It really helps if you leave a rating. I'm not sure if you can do it every episode or if you can only do it once. And please don't forget to follow the Nobody Asked Pod _ on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Okay, I will let you guys go. I hope you have the best week and an even better weekend. And I will see you bitches next Thursday. Bye.